Log 18, uh, recording on the 23rd of February on a Friday. I feel better this week, and I can comfortably say that all the overhauling and the three designs I've been working on since November have successfully concluded. This audio log will have visual elements of the overhauling sort of textures that I have implemented, showing you on the walls and some wooden panels that have been overhauled by these textures. So I'm going to start off by showing you the before picture of the tiles on the walls. This was how it was before I started the overhauling sort of concept. This was on design number 2, which the paper has been quite soft and textured, and as we established a couple of logs before, it gave me a lot of trouble in sort of implementing that roughness, but at the same time it gave me such an easy time in blending and all that sort of things. So on the right now I'm going to prompt up the current state. Now this is the overhaul of the texture elements of that page. As you can see, there is a lot more definition, there is wornness, you can see the lines, the gradient, the age really, and I quite like it. And I always felt that it was a difficult part in the beginning to know that the foreground has to be done much more in detail and the background has to be done smoother, something that blends a lot more, so I don't really clash on which is which. But given that I've extended the deadline and I've extended many things and me taking things slower, when I went back to these designs, I realized that wow, this needs some attention. Given that before in my mind I had like this deadline in a couple of months, therefore some parts of the detailing and revisiting was like it's fine, it looks okay, let's move forward. But with this new approach, with this new theme and this new sort of adventure, I decided to go back, which is a first for me, and really learn from it. And I did. And I've changed so many things, and let things be at some points. And it's just a plethora of different elements of me understanding what it was there and then pushing it in a direction that reflects the story and what was the theme and what was happening at the time. A couple of other examples will pop up. Now, this is the wooden sort of panels behind the statue. It's part of the wall that is sort of on the lower part. Again, on design number 2, the smoother design. And this is the overhaul of the wooden texture. I think this picture was done prior to the final version of it. As you can see on the top, there's some details of the etching of the wood that I just started implementing. And I think I left that undone on this picture and I just forgot to take the recent picture. Doesn't matter because you understand the detail that I was trying to achieve. I really had a blast doing this, and today I put everything next to each other and I was witnessing the changes or the similarities or the skill that was apparent between them. And I have to say that I really learned a lot from these 3 designs alone, and moving forward now I have all this knowledge that I didn't have before and this arsenal of different techniques and textures that I could use. when it comes to wood, I have a couple of different textures, and on tiles, on the stone that is used on the statues, and so on and so forth. Additional to that, in my previous log, I was contemplating about the face change on statue number 2, which was design number 2. And it started off with me wanting to implement better shadows, better sort of light qualities on the established face, with this feminine sort of figure that used to be a boyish sort of um, figure. So after contemplation, as I said before, I wanted to change that. So I did the method that I used in design number 1, which was to cut out a different face in done in different paper, and use that paper to stick it on and implement this sort of interesting tempered with look. And so I did. I used the paper that was more textured to the face, so it really strikes out as something very different, and it blends really nicely. But you can tell that something is been done later on, which I wanted that approach. And I've made this very boyish figure that looks towards an angle in the room that has a very substantial and impactful thing going on that generates parts of the story. At the same time, much of the environment has been left as is, as this design has already taken the time to be re-implemented story-wise and rethink on what is placed and what's not placed and all that. And I just did some gradient changes in shadows and lights, and it was pretty much done. I'm really happy with the result, and now I'm looking forward in doing the other 3 remaining statues that are opposite from these ones. I didn't have time to actually look at the designs this week, which I'm going to be doing on Monday. I'm not in a type of rush in creating, sort of jumping onto the new design straight off, enjoying it, but I know that these 3 other designs have a bit more different storytelling ability that are completely different than the other 3. The other 3 are more direct, and these ones are more find it in the environment that has been destroyed. And I need to rethink that now that I know this knowledge, and see how further I can push this. And I'm quite excited about that. I'm quite excited of what is to come and the things that I was able to achieve, which results in this rich story that you will be witnessing come around December if everything goes well. So I don't know how much time this will take me, the other 3 designs, but I would say, let's say they would take 3 months. Then I'm left with the 3 final designs, which are the bigger ones and the more substantial in introducing these other designs that I've been working on. And well, I've been learning a lot, and maybe they need an overhauling as well. And that would take some time, which is exciting for me. It is exciting that I have completely broken my patterns coming from flow to this one, into slowing down and really putting hours in the day that I'm going to be hands-on and then completely detached from it, so I can continue my storytelling in other aspects of my life, either by reading another chapter of this book or by listening to this interview or this podcast or someone else's work or someone else's designs, to keep this momentum of me being in the same realm of thinking about art, but at the same time letting it breathe in and understand from my environment and what's happening around the world to influence the direction of it. Because as I established in flow, the amount of months that I've been spending on something has led me sort of stagnated in the past, and with little to none wiggle room in changing what I was feeling at the time. And this was reflected strongly on the last painting of this story, not the actual last painting that I was doing, titled The Long Walk of the Creator, which I think I'm going to put an image just to prompt and remind for those who have been there. This was a very significant sort of painting for me for the reason that it was an overhauling of a past painting that I'd done in the beginning. And given that the story was sort of moving in a different direction and I was moving in a different direction, I wanted to tackle that again. And I did. And as I was creating this painting, the news of sort of the conflict of war in from Ukraine and Russia was happening, and due to the connection that I had with a couple of friends in that country, it sort of stumped me in my tracks and really halted me. And I was feeling a type of way that I wanted to express it, and I did in the figure in terms of some of the eyes and like in small elements. But if that was happening and that impactful event happened, that was as I was doing a part of the Stonemason, I could actually go back or in some shape or form put it in my story in the composition that is going to prompt to that segment of feeling. And it's a very important part when it comes to my personal storytelling to always be topical. Well, at least at this time of my life. Because as I'm depicting war, as I'm depicting the past and how someone ruminates and this stress and this what ifs and all of that comes from actions and reactions and the people that you love intermingling with anything, all of these crucial and hard subjects that most of us will face, most of us are feeling or have felt or are going to, or all of that. It's crucial to always keep it sort of topical. And I have seen and I've revisited parts of the first design in putting this ideology behind, because the first design was just the figure and the beautiful face that remained. But then the environment was pretty much a placeholder of just, that was the focus. But just by putting how I was feeling at the time, the past few weeks, and my mindset, just these few elements that I'm not going to spoil, it allowed me to feel like this rejuvenation of this first design to be current with how I feel. And I don't think this could be a slippery slope, right? Because let's say the other three designs are done and then I see all six together. And then I'm like, whoa, I have to go back to the first one again and do this new thing and yada, yada, yada. But I don't think that will happen because the overhauling helped in creating this gap of skill, but at the same time leaving the importance of time and knowledge that was gained from each statue, aka how I was learning from each statue and how to implement this thing or that thing. And given that it's fulfilled its purpose, that before it was sort of like a race for time and having this one thing that should make sense and moving forward and having this different element on the other one that it's a bit different but at the same time exists in this realm. This has taken and moved on to a level that I've given it time and I've completed it into the best of my abilities of that section that I want. So I've been thinking about it, and it's been fascinating. All of these thoughts of how to introduce my present with the past version of myself that started this design and started this sort of conclusions of like the composition it's gonna be, this figure in the middle, things on the floor, on the walls is gonna be this marking, like all these structural elements of how to introduce the story. But then let's say on week number 3, I have this urge of wanting to say this specific sentence or this specific mood, then I could introduce a, a page of a book or implement it in this other story that is implemented in this book that you would find. Like this plethora of divergence of stories intermingling and elaborating the the connotation of this mental turmoil has been one of the most beautiful and engaging parts of my artistic endeavors so far. Because it's not only just the design of me putting a nice face, putting a nice figure, proportionally, shadowy, whatever, and then okay, then I put the writing, but at the same time, I can add so many layers from different parts and different artistic mediums that it just makes me so engaged and at the same time so understood, which I never felt before. And this excitement is sometimes a bit worrisome. And in recent times, with a conversation with a friend, I realized that having these fluctuations in how you feel with whatever you're working on should raise some questions. It should feel sort of like business as usual, but without the business part of, like I'm doing something mechanical, but more of like a level of comfortability that, is established without your arrogance and without your ego, without having to be clouded by that. So I'm thinking about that. I'm pondering about that as I'm moving forward because I think it needs some weight. And truthfully, with everything that I'm learning here and the time that I'm allowing myself to learn and sort of fall on my face and then pick myself up again, it's gonna keep happening. It's gonna keep happening in terms of I'm gonna find something that I'm struggling with, and then I'm gonna spend the next week sort of trying to figure it out, and I'm gonna feel like maybe this isn't working out, or maybe I should change something. But towards the end, a solution will come where I move forward, both in skill and in person. And I think this is the most important part when it comes to storytelling. Yes, it's great to have a base, but the diversion and veering from it is necessary to put yourself and your current voice to be heard. And this is one of the conclusions that these 3 designs and all these months since November allowed me to come in and say and express. So in this week, it's going to be about me seeing the other 3 designs, sort of seeing how they are, and maybe adding some more elements or taking some things away from the story. And I'm gonna prepare myself for the next design. Maybe it's gonna start this week, or maybe it's gonna start next week. But this week is all about the foundational part of it and making sure that everything will be moving smoothly. So yeah, that's log number 18, and it's been a fascinating 18 weeks. I have to say that things that I wouldn't even guess are happening, and things that I wouldn't even consider, I'm considering. So it's been great learning about myself and learning about how fluent art can be when you allow it.